Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Dayle.
We're sisters and best friends, and this is Proof It's Possible.
Jamie and I are complete opposites, but somehow through every stage of life, we stay on the same team. We're kicking the door wide open and sharing our morning coffee chats with you.
Join us as we chat about everything from chasing our dreams to entrepreneurship to family, friendship, and what other craziness we have going on that week.
Hi.
Hi.
Screams that. Welcome back to Proof It's Possible, Jamie and Dayle. Dayle and Jamie, I don't know. Today, we're chit-chatting about authenticity. Right. You're a real smooth operator. You've got this nailed. Just okay,
Yeah.
guys. What we're here to do is actually have fun.
I don't even know if
You think that? Yeah, I think it's totally fine. Anyway, authenticity is something that you hear a lot about, like, we talk about, and it's like when you're being your authentic self, great things happen. But like sometimes it can be hard to know when you're not being your authentic self because you almost just get like swallowed up in life and in what you've got going on. And then the next thing you know, you're literally behaving in ways that aren't in line with yourself. But it's almost like once you pass the point, it's not like something that you see yourself doing until you get really clear on who you are and what your authentic self looks like.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, if you had to sit down and write, like, who am I authentically? Nobody would be able to do that.
Totally.
But everybody knows what they're not. Like, it's way easier to be like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not a narcissist. I'm not a thief. I'm not a this. I'm not whatever.
Right.
But it's very hard to be like, but I am like a good friend and I am, or whatever. Like
whatever that means.
You don't give yourself credit for whatever personality traits or characteristics that you do find to be authentic to yourself. So it's easier to make a list of like what you're not. And I think that it's easier on the flip side too, that when you are behaving in a way that you're like, whoa, this feels so out of alignment, not because you're super clear on what is in alignment, but you're very clear on what is not. Like you know the feeling of not being authentic.
Yeah, but the only thing I will say about this, like, not the only thing, I mean, I'm going to talk about this for a while, is that I, like, the times that I've been the least authentic with myself didn't happen in one big chunk. No, it was literally like little thing, little bend, little change, little, give in to something that I was like, oh, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't seem right to me. But I didn't notice it as a big deal at the time because I didn't think it would snowball the way that it did. And so what always, like, the area of my life that I talk quite in depth about in my book, but is dating. So while I was dating, I didn't know who I was as someone's girlfriend. And because I sort of like went through all the things as a teenager, being in a wheelchair, I had so much more on my plate than just like finding a boyfriend and going off to college and mindlessly dating guys and having fun with it all. I was like just trying to figure out how to like be independent. What are you doing? For the people not watching us on video, she is changing her pillows. She's pretty much walking around the room.
I can't get comfortable.
Well, that looks like it's much better. All right. Sit on your knees.
Carry on.
All right. I'm going to carry on. Anyway, so while I was dating, I didn't know who I even wanted to be, supposed to be, going to be in a relationship. I knew a lot about myself, but it had nothing to do with this new area of my life. And I was just trying to sort that out. So when I started dating guys, I basically would be like, what do they expect from me or want from me? And then I would just do that because I was almost looking to them to get guidance and like, bad place to start, bad place to start.
Red flag.
Next, and like, I'm the red flag. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me, for real. That is not the way to enter any relationship, whether it's like with a business partner, with, anybody, a boyfriend, anything. And so it took me a couple of relationships to be like, okay, this is what I expect. This is who I am. This is what I need from somebody. And in the lessons is dating the different guys that absolutely did not give me what I deserved or what I needed, but to their credit, that I didn't even ask for. So that's where I was my probably most inauthentic self. And I have some like business things, but when have you been inauthentic?
Well, I talk a lot about this in my book.
Same.
But I talk about how like just little by little decision, small decision by small decision, giving in, one little ounce at a time. Next thing you know, you're kind of on a path that you're like, how did I get here? That happened when my husband was drinking. I would often like have this, I don't like an air of perfectionism. Like I would make sure that everything looked perfect so that people wouldn't suspect like all of the chaos that was happening inside of the home. Like, and I say this in my book that I'm like, I knew that it wasn't going to, if my kids didn't eat like a 5-course dinner, it wasn't going to be the dead giveaway. Or I knew if there was like laundry piled up that it wasn't going to be the dead giveaway. But if too many of those things happened, then I thought that would be the dead giveaway. So it was like, I had to just stay on everything. I had to just give this whole illusion of perfectionism so that nobody like wanted to delve deeper. Nobody wanted to take a deeper look, because if they did, then it might, reveal my secrets and all of the chaos that was happening. So I think I was living a super inauthentic life then. Like I feel like when I look back, even when I was writing my book, I look back on those times and I'm like, who was I? Like, how did I get so lost? How did I get so far from like the path of what I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, how I wanted my life to turn out? Like, how did I accept basically like crumbs for such a long time?
Totally.
In order to be like, okay, so now I have a plate of crumbs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and like that's exactly how I feel. Like I don't even know the girl I was. And if I were to get into those relationships now, I don't know if they would have like ended immediately because I'm such a different person now. Or if I would have got a totally different guy out of it because they would have been like, oh, she's not going to accept this.
Yeah.
I have to be, they would have stepped up and done better.
Yeah.
And like even with
you teach people how to treat you.
Exactly.
Who said that? Maya Angelou?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
But somebody smart said that.
Yeah.
It wasn't us. But another example I have of a time when it was just being unsure. When you're new at something, I feel like is your biggest time to like be like, okay, well, this is how this person's doing it. That's how that person's doing it. And that's not a bad strategy, is to like look at your competition or your peers or whoever else when you're a mom, it's like nobody gives you a book and it's like, here's all the rules, here's how you do it. So you kind of like be like, how did my mom raise kids? What was normal for us when we were little? What are my girlfriends doing? And so another time in my life that I was a little wavy and a little bit like accepting crumbs when I wanted the whole cake was when I first became an interior designer. I just wanted a client. I did not have the right kind of standards about how to charge, how much time I would give these people for what I did charge. Like,
I feel like anybody that's new in business makes this crucial error. You're just so grateful that you have like a client that you're like, hey, actually my services are free.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I'm free. I'll actually paint your house myself. And can I move the furniture in and like help you place every decoration until I die? I'm just on retainer forever without getting any more payment. But you're just so grateful to have a client, to be doing the thing you love. You get caught up in that. And that's exactly what I did. Like I literally was charging nothing for my time. Like I bet you it was down to like cents an hour. And my life reflected it. Like I wasn't making money. I wasn't being lucrative at my job for the first little while. And until I learned a couple of hard lessons. And you do get the client or somebody that does take advantage a little bit. Like most of my amazing clients were like, thank you, we're done now. But then the odd one 3 years later is still calling you and they still think it's under the same contract. And that's when I was like, I need some boundaries. I need some, and I guess that's what being your authentic self requires is boundaries.
Yeah. I also feel like now, like an outsider looking into like the times that I was inauthentic in my life, I can see that I was just I lacked confidence. And I feel like the same as like a new business owner, they lack confidence in their business. So they're willing to accept whatever is presented to them.
Absolutely.
And like in my relationship, like with my husband, I lacked confidence, not because I didn't think like he was going to leave or anything like that, but I just like lacked confidence in like knowing what a normal marriage was supposed to look like. And like, I was kind of new to everything, and like, well, maybe this is just, we have kids and maybe this is normal, and maybe, you know, everyone around me was drinking too much too. So maybe this is like what everybody did. I didn't know. I didn't stand firm in knowing that like, if it felt wrong, then it was wrong, you know, like all of that.
Because it could be just wrong for you, even if the neighbor's doing it or the friends are doing it or whatever.
Or if the designer's only charging $20 an hour and you think you're worth way more, neither one of you is wrong.
Exactly.
It's just, that's not in alignment with who you are. And that wasn't in alignment with who I was. So I think that it's taking a moment to like step back and realize that you're just doing this out of like lack of confidence. So you don't need to be hard on yourself about it. You don't need to like judge yourself for it, but that's the like light shining in on the bigger, much bigger.
For sure.
issue.
And my much bigger issue was absolutely not something small. Like it was a big issue and I didn't know it at the time, but basically I had like decided that people in wheelchairs, and like, I know this is completely untrue now, but for me, this was my story that I had told myself, people in wheelchairs were not lovable. So the fact that somebody was like, yeah, I'll date you. I was like, oh, well, this is exciting. I better just accept whatever it is that they think I deserve. And where I started was a horrible place to start, because that's a bad mindset. And you go into something with that bad of a mindset, you're going to get something pretty bad out of it.
Well, and like also like what a crazy, this is proof that like the ideas in our head are actually crazy.
Well, they're lies. They're just lies we tell ourselves.
Like crazy lies, because anybody else can see like that's a completely untrue statement. Everyone who's ever met you is like, of course you're lovable. That's ridiculous. But like the fact that that was what was on repeat in the loop in your head is wild.
And it's not even that it was like, for me, it wasn't even, it's like saying I was born with brown hair. Like it wasn't even a thought, it was a fact. Like I didn't even give it the like opportunity to be
anything
challenged or questioned or like, until one day I was like, you know what if though, maybe like other people seem to be doing this, maybe I should look into it, you know? And I'm not saying like my relationships were like awful, but they were not men I could marry and have the life that I wanted. There's a difference between getting what you getting something, you know, filling the box of just having a husband or having a job or having a career, owning your own business, or you know, what's right, what's wrong, whatever. Or there's the box of like getting exactly what you want. You wanted a healthy, happy family. You didn't want drinking to be part of it. You know, you want to chase all your dreams and you want your husband to be supportive of that. Like I wanted all those things too. And for me, I needed to like make sure that who I picked fostered that in my life and was my cheerleader and was wanting that for me as well. And so in order to do that, I had to pick somebody that was on the same sort of like wavelength as me and really believed in me. And that, you know, that's something that's like big enough for me to like completely end a relationship. But yeah, so authenticity, and when I am behaving in my most authentic ways and with my own most authentic self in mind, do you find that you get exactly what you want way easier with so many less closed doors?
1,000%. And I think I read this in like a Gabby Bernstein book, but it was something like when you're doing stuff that's in alignment with your authentic self, it feels like you're with the current. Like you're in a river and you're flowing with the current, like everything feels really easy. And then when you're not, it feels like you're swimming upstream. And I was like, oh, no kidding. So whenever I feel like I'm swimming upstream, I'm always like, okay, what is out of alignment for me? Like where am I, like, what am I pushing on that I shouldn't be, like, or what am I trying to force that I need to let go of, or like, there's just so many, I think when you're acting in your authentic self, everything becomes easier. Every single
like thing, planning Christmas holidays becomes easy. Like you know, things that you just always felt like you were exactly like you said, swimming against the current, or every time you'd get to the door, you'd go to open it, it's locked because the door is not meant for you. Literally not meant for you.
Accepting that the door is not meant for you. I mean, you can sit there with a locksmith and like
Yeah.
beg the door to open, but
Totally,
like,
and like beat it down.
and
But
eventually you might get
do you
in,
want
but
it?
like, do you want it? What's
No.
on the other side? Like, if it feels that hard, then it's probably not the right door
Exactly.
for you. Yeah,
For sure.
1,000%.
We want to know how and what ways you have felt inauthentic in your life, what adjustments you made to basically get where you wanted to be, or I have a question for you actually before we end this.
Sure.
How did you make adjustments so that you got back to being authentic? Like, what are your tips for people if they feel like they're on the wrong path but don't know how to get off of it?
Well, there's a couple things. I used to say to myself all the time, I want off this roller coaster. And I didn't realize I literally just had to step off. I just had to be like, this isn't meant for me. And whatever that looks like for you is going to be different. But for me, I was like, I don't want to ride this roller coaster. And I simply just needed to decide, A, make the decision that this wasn't going to work for me.
Okay.
B, set some boundaries and be like, this is how I'm going to like preserve my peace. And this is where I stand firm in everything. And then hold people accountable for those boundaries so that they're not like, okay, well, that's a great idea, but I'm just going to blow right through those. Hold people accountable. And then it's kind of like teach people how to treat you. Like, I really had to reassess my marriage when there was drinking involved and recovery involved. And for me, I'm super lucky because my husband decided to go to recovery, and he is sober and he works very hard at that. But we had to like start our marriage basically over because everything we thought we knew about it changed. Like it was like entering into a new marriage because our communication changed, our boundaries changed. There was just everything changed. And then we also started having kids. So it's like that changes the dynamic of a relationship too. So for me, it's like figuring out what you want, B, setting some boundaries, and then making decisions that are in alignment with what it is that you want. So if I'm saying I want X and then I'm doing everything to move away from X, then I'm not actually, like behaving like I want X. So everything in my life has to be in alignment with who I am and what I believe and what I want to be. And if it's not, then it's a no for me. And it's just staying true to myself.
Yes.
In that capacity. What about you?
Well, for the like smaller risk takers in this world, which is me, I felt like with business, for instance, like when I wasn't getting paid properly, my like little tiny move was to like raise my prices just a little bit and see what happens. And then sure enough, people are like, okay, great. Where's the contract? Can I sign it? And I was like, oh God, they didn't say like no immediately, and then, but if I was being truthful in that first step, I would have raised my prices significantly. I wouldn't have raised my prices slightly. So it was more gradual for me to be like, okay, I'd like to move up to this. I'd like to move up to this. Because when I got really real with myself, I wanted way more than I was charging, not slightly more than I was charging. Like I was so under the standard in my industry that it was foolish. Like no wonder I was getting customers because people are like, how dumb is she? Yeah, free. You're practically free. Like, why wouldn't we? This is a no-brainer, but like, which is great, but it's not great for me living a life that could actually pay for itself and, making it a career and doing the thing I wanted to do. So now I feel like I'm at like a level where, if I want to make a change like that, I would literally ask myself, like, how much do I want to make a year? I do the math backwards on how much hours is that? How much do I want to work? And how much do I charge an hour because of that, or project because of that, whatever. And so I had to almost like inch towards it because I'm a little bit more of a scaredy cat. And when I did that, it taught me self-trust though. And what that gave me was the ability to like make the next step and then raise the price a little bit.
I think for me, it was all about self-trust too, because that's exactly what setting boundaries is. And then holding firm to those boundaries is just a form of self-trust. It's just a form of choosing yourself over everybody else's desires for you.
And I remember sending the quote for people and being like, oh God. But having to be okay with when I set that new boundary for myself, that it was potentially going to come back a no. But it's kind of like the door not being open. Like if it's locked, if the door is locked, it's because you're not meant to go through it, and that lesson probably hits the hardest when you are dating and you do set a boundary with like a guy you're dating and then they're like, hey, this isn't what I signed up for. I don't like you anymore or whatever. But at the same time, I look back now and I'm like, gosh, I wish they would have said that so much earlier. Like, I wish I would have, known that we weren't a match so much earlier. So I could have met my husband so much earlier, but I needed all the lessons.
You needed all the lessons.
Yes.
You have to look at it that like you weren't ready at that moment in time. You had more lessons to learn before you met Darren. So
for sure. And like, I'm grateful to have shown up to Darren, like the part of my life with Darren in it as my best self. And to the point where like when I first met Darren, I was like, I'm going to go on all the TV morning shows and I'm going to start doing design segments. And he was like, I don't think it's that easy. But I had such a self-trust in myself that I was like, no, it's easy. I'm going to do it. And it wasn't easy, but I did do it. And then he started trusting in me doing the things I said, or, believing in the things.
He's also a very cautious,
non-risk, more
taker.
cautious people in the scheme of the world.
These two needed a lot of proof. They needed to inch by inch receive validation that they were on the right path before they actually put a toe on the path.
Yes. And that's why like COVID gave us 3 extra years to plan our wedding and make sure that we were on the right path. And we definitely were. So that's the best part. Oh, anyways.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah. We love these chats and we love sharing them with you. And they're exactly what we talk about. Like, we genuinely get our content from the things Jamie and I are talking about in our morning coffee chats. So we hope that you enjoy them. We love hearing from you. Follow us on social, subscribe to our podcast so that you can never miss an episode.
Bye, guys.
We are so grateful you're here.
It would mean the world to us if you'll subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel and leave us a review.
If you want to hear more from us, go to proofitspossible.com to join our mailing list and find our social links so you don't miss a thing.
Thanks, and chat next time.